Oh, hello. Back again? Mr. Negative here. Just relaxing, enjoying how you guys probably hate the dark web. That's right. You guys probably wish that there was a Mr. Negative event. Well, maybe in time there will be. But until then, I'm gonna bring you the most miserable event that has to do with Spider-Man ever. And that is the dark web.
You'll have to excuse my friend Mr. Negative there. In fact, actually, he's not my friend at all. I told you that before. He's my least favorite villain of all time. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. This is Comic Book Corner 2.0, and welcome to another episode of Spider-Man Weekly. I apologize I missed last week, but it was the holidays, so I took the week off. But we're back this week covering the Dark Web event, and this one has to deal with Goblin. This is issue 3. This one is written by Christopher Cantwell, and Lan Medina does the artwork. I think the artwork is actually really well done, especially in the beginning of this comic, as you get to see Norman Osborn go through some dream sequence, and you get to see his face being peeled off of him that reveals the skin that's underneath, which is the Green Goblin, and that was very creepy, and I really love that. Jack-O-Lantern makes his return in this comic book, and he looks very horrific. He's very intense, and I love the action scenes in this comic book. So this book really showcases the artwork quite well. So let's continue this story here. What happens? Well, in the last issue of Goblin, issue 2, we find out that, or Norman finds out, who the Queen Goblin actually is. And he realizes that she has all of his sins, and that's what made her into the Queen Goblin. Now, the Queen Goblin is trying to get rid of those sins because slowly inside, I think it's killing Dr. Kafka. And it was a quite interesting story because Ashley Kafka wants to give those sins back, and Norman, of course, doesn't want them. So he's like, you know what? Well, if I destroy her, those sins are going to die with her, and I will no longer get those sins back no matter what. And that's that. And I wash my hands clean. That's not really I guess, a good way to think about things, especially if you're trying to go back on the straight and narrow, right? Spider-Man wouldn't do that. He wouldn't kill her, right? But he goes searching for her, and he can't find her, and she's lost in limbo and stuff like that, which kind of sucks because this book has Queen Goblin on the main cover, and she's nowhere to be found in this particular comic book except for the beginning of it. After when Norman Osborn wakes up from his dream sequence that he has and he goes searching for her, he has to go to his grandson's birthday party. And even though the world is in shambles right now, they still got to find a way to have this birthday party, which is kind of crazy. They hold it in Aclamax, or is it Norman Industries? One of those two places. And Norman Osborn is trying to do the best that he can, but he's lack of sleep. He's stressed out, dealing with everything that is going on. And the next thing, when he tries to take a nap, is you get to see Jack-O-Lantern come back for round 2. He wants to get revenge for Norman Osborn, calling him a wimp and that he can't handle himself, and it seemed very petty, a type of fight. But in the process of Jack-O-Lantern busting through the building, he almost destroyed Norman Osborn's grandson, right? Normie. And now Norman is freaking pissed off. And you get to see this pretty badass fight that happens between these two characters, which I really loved. You got to see Gold Goblin sit there, strangle Jack-O-Lantern, and then he winds up bringing him up through into the higher ends of the atmosphere. Jack-O-Lantern's basically begging for his life. And Norman Osborn looks like he's about to drop him, but he has this epiphany. He's like, I can't be a bad guy. That's not me anymore. So he picks him up and he brings him to the side of the building, and he's like, dude, what's your name? You know, and he's like, well, my name is Owen Ward. And he's like, well, what's your story? You know, and he tells him he was a med student, he flunked out, he needed money, and now he started selling bones and stuff like that. And he looked up to Norman Osborn as a business partner, as a business person that gets what he wants. And Norman just sits there and goes, yeah, I've taken a lot of things that are not mine, right? And he's like, maybe we can work together. And Norman says, you know, maybe I can't destroy my sins, but maybe I can atone for them. Because Norman Osborn's going through a great deal of guilt right now. And it's an emotion that he's never had to deal with the entire time that he has been Green Goblin. And so it made for an interesting story here. So he spares the new Jack-o'-lantern's life. These guys could be friends going forward, and that's how the issue ends. Overall, I think the Gold Goblin storyline is actually the best thing out of Dark Web yet. I feel like actually the Amazing Spider-Man storyline in general is more of a Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, Gold Goblin storyline that it is with the Amazing Spider-Man. There's just more going on with that character than, you know, yours truly. There's just been more character development from him, whether it's from the main book or this spin-off book, which I really appreciate. And I think Cantwell's doing a nice job with it. Now, does Norman Osborn become the Green Goblin once again? I think he does. I think something happens to his grandson where he's going to push him over the edge and he is going to be that person once again. But what does that mean for Queen Goblin, right? Because she has those sins inside of her body. Does she get killed and those sins get released and also go into, you know, Norman's body again? I don't know. These are all questions that still have to be answered. And I know a lot of you guys want Green Goblin back, but in all reality, I feel that this is okay because this is just something different for the character for right now, adds a little bit more layers. And what I could appreciate from this book is that again, I've said this before, it goes into the psyche and we see the struggles, the sins that he's had to go through, like all that stuff. And I love how deep it's actually going. So at the end of the day, I definitely recommend Dark Web Gold Goblin. Out of anything here when it comes to the Dark Web storyline, I actually like this better than the main storyline. There is no meat to that book. There is no character growth to Amazing Spider-Man. Ben Reilly has no character growth. Yes, he's become Chasm, but all he wants is he wants his memories back. There's just nothing being added to the main event in itself. What character growth is added to Madeline Pryor? Really nothing. She just wants to get revenge on Jean Grey. That's kind of lame. Like, we've seen that story before. And we've seen a lot of these stories before. But an event has to be monumental that makes a change to a character that's going to be lasting, right? And the only person here that I see making a solid change is obviously Norman Osborn. Spider-Man has gone through a change, but we don't know anything of what's going on with him as of yet. I guess time will tell. Maybe we'll have to wait until after this event is over. So there you guys have it. If there's any spin-off book that you're going to read, if you read The Amazing Spider-Man, read Gold Goblin. I think it's really good so far. So guys, if you love the content, I'll leave you more content right here. In fact, this is my newest series that I've released on my channel. It's called Worthy Ones, where I go over all the new #1 comic books for the week, and I see if they're worthy or not worthy. I think you guys will have a lot of fun with that. Guys, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read your comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon. Bye.